What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the vault. My name is Money, and today I am downstairs in my basement surrounded by all of my useless shit because that's where I knew my copy of Funkoverse had to be. And in the process of finding it, I actually found this really cool mug. So I've invited 3 friends over to hang out and play board games, but I'm realizing that I sold all of my board games except for Funkoverse. And this thing scares the shit out of me. This is Funkoverse, Funko's attempt to branch into the board game industry. This game can be played with 2 or 4 people and provides 4 unique headaches in the form of different game modes. Luckily for me, I have 3 idiots willing to waste their day away, so we'll be focusing on the 4-player version of the gameplay for this video. So I thought that maybe if you guys were down, we could play a board game, and then I'm thinking whoever wins the board game could take home this as a prize. You guys okay with that? This isn't gonna go well, is it? Funkoverse releases in 2 separate avenues. You have your core board, which as the title suggests, includes your core board, as well as 4 characters based around the theme of the board. And then you also have your expansion packs, which include either 1 to 2 additional characters, as well as various other items that embellish on the core board set. The first Funkoverse bundles released in 2019, and the first core boards were based off of Harry Potter in DC. Now, DC and Harry Potter make a lot of sense to me. After all, these are 2 licenses that time after time again find themselves at the top of Funko's best-selling lines. However, Golden Girls, I'm not sure how that was given priority over literally anything else. Funko began to get a bit more ambitious with the licenses they chose and released more core sets including Game of Thrones, Jurassic Park, and The Nightmare Before Christmas. Many other expansion sets were also released, including Rick and Morty, Back to the Future, and Jaws. And then after that was all said and done, they got even more ambitious and released Funkoverse boards with chases inside. Alright, in the future I would really appreciate it if we didn't throw my personal property, but I take it that you're not a fan of board games.
No, I'm just not a fan of squares.
But what about trapezoids?
Indifferent.
So again, like I said, I would appreciate it if nobody threw my personal property again. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Alright.
Just making sure we're good.
Alright.
Yeah, we're good. Good.
So this says to stop reading and play. And I feel very unprepared.
Funkoverse comes with 4 separate game modes that you can play: Flags, Leaders, Territory, and Control. I just don't think humanity's ready for this game yet. When playing Leaders, each team secretly nominates a leader, and then both teams reveal the leader at the same time. There's more points allocated for knocking out a leader than another player, but you can still gain and win points by knocking out followers rather than just the leaders. Flags is just literally capture the flag. I don't think I need to explain this one, do I? Territory has a huge scoring area in the middle of the board, and when a player is in that capture area at the end of a turn, that team gains a point. If you have the most bodies in the scoring area at the end of the turn, you gain an extra point on top of it. Now, Control is probably the most complicated game mode out of all 4 of them. Essentially, there are 3 designated control areas. When a character is adjacent to any of these control areas, they can place a control marker. In order to recapture a control area for an opposite team, you have to be adjacent to that area for 1 turn, then you're able to flip over the coin. Regardless of the game mode that you're playing, the point of the game is to get 6 points if playing with 2 players or 10 points if playing with 4 players. Oh, actually, wait a second. It says here that we have to flip a coin to determine who goes first. Does anybody have a coin on them?
You don't need a coin. They give you this thing.
But don't you have a thing about sharp edges?
Yeah, I'm not touching that.
Seriously, nobody has a coin on them? I find that extremely hard to believe.
No.
No.
Give me the damn thing. Drew, call it in the air. It's heads.
Woo! Fucking losers!
Can you guys keep it down?
Sorry. What the hell is that? After flipping a coin, you should probably get all of your materials dispensed to your team members, and I hope you brought a Xanax because opening up the box is just sensory overload. You have your character cards, your cooldown tracks, your character bases, your 2 basic characters, your 2 basic character cards, 6 exhaustion markers, 8 ability tokens, your first player marker, 21 points, your items specific to the game that you bought. In this case, it's a dagger item card, a Felix Felicis, a Felix Felicis item card, 6 dice. Okay. This video was supposed to try and take a relaxed approach to this game, but Funko is making it really hard. But I'm going to try my best and remain calm and not freak out.
There's no dice in here.
What do you mean there's no dice in there?
Hey, please, just calm down.
You put that fucking thing down. So the rulebook starts off by suggesting a first gameplay style which is separate than those other 4 aforementioned game modes. This is noted by Funko's authors as, quote, jumping in as quickly as possible. It literally asks you to learn as you go, so let's roll these dice and get this show on the road.
Oh, I have a few dice.
So you had 4 dozen dice in your pocket, but you didn't bring a coin with you?
I have one more.
So you're telling me that there's actually 5 different ways to play this game, and that this huge setup is the condescending game mode. So I can summarize for you guys. Basically, this whole page can be broken down to decide on your teams. Each player gets a pop figure, the card respective to that pop figure, the ability tokens respective to the card of that character, a cooldown track, 3 dice, and 3 exhausted markers. This is just way too wordy, and the rulebook probably could have just been written like this. So I'm not insinuating that my friends are a bunch of idiots, but you have to be pretty damn smart to understand this board game as a whole, and the rules are just so complicated, and they make it so much worse by having there be so many different actions as to what each player can do per turn.
Can we all agree that there's just way too much going on here? Like, can we all just try to figure it out as we go?
Yeah, I agree with Ron on that one. Drew won the coin flip, which means that he gets to go first.
Yeah, I did. What am I supposed to do?
I mean, I got no fucking clue.
Each player is able to pick 2 actions from this list before being considered exhausted. Once a character is exhausted, it moves on to the next player. Your exhaustion marker doesn't go away until each character has done its actions, and the rotation comes back around full circle to the person who went first. You have basic actions, which every character can do, and then you also have special actions, which only the pop figures themselves can do. This little disc of cardboard can't use any of these items, you stupid little idiot. You stupid idiot.
Is he yelling at the character token?
I think we need the number for a good psychologist.
I think he's gonna need way more than a good psychologist. Get that man a glass of milk, stat.
You stupid little fucking stupid. Move is pretty self-explanatory. You can only move up to 2 spaces in any direction, that includes diagonal, as long as there is no obstacle in your way, or there will be no character in the space that you land on. You are able to hop over enemies or teammates on your travels, so you can be ready to bop some motherfuckers over the head.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Move!
Oh, sorry, am I not supposed to have elbows on the table?
Basic challenge is where you roll 2 dice to see if you can successfully knock out your opponent, and if you can knock out the opponent, then you get a point. On the die provided by Funko, 1 star icon is worth 1 success, and each exclamation point icon is worth 3 successes. Each opposing character has a defense symbol on their character card, which notes how many dice they get to roll in retaliation to this basic challenge. If the character that you challenge is standing and they lose the dice roll, they get knocked down. If they are already knocked down and lose the dice roll, they move to level 1 of the cooldown track. This way the player can keep track of it. After 1 full rotation after their knockout, the character that was knocked out is able to return back to the board.
Why doesn't everyone just get the same amount of defense?
Yeah, it does seem a little backwards to display all the information on the cards like that.
I mean, I guess it makes the game a little bit more strategy-based.
Yeah, but on the other hand, if they wanted to make the game more strategy-based, then they could have just given every character an attack point and a set defense point, you know?
Yeah, shut the fuck up. Let me have this.
The third action is called Assist. Assist allows you to stand up an ally on your team as long as you are adjacent to them in any direction.
I'm sorry, Money. Let me help you out.
The fourth action is called Ability. Abilities are on the character cards themselves and allow you to do specific moves in order to challenge your opponents in special ways. This is different than basic challenges because they all have special and different effects and abilities. For example, Voldemort's Friend Fire has a range of 2 squares and hits for a 6 challenge, as opposed to the basic challenge that can only hit from 1 square away. Abilities require some sort of ability token, which is usually themed to the board that you're playing on. For example, Hermione requires this gear token with a 2 in the middle. After using this ability, you then place your gear token on the 2 of the cooldown track because that's what is noted on the inside of the icon.
So an ability is different than a basic challenge?
I guess it appears that way, yeah.
But it still lets me knock over my opponent.
Like 60% of the time, though.
Sweet.
Your fifth action is called Rally, and this can only be used when your character is knocked down by an opponent. When you are knocked down, you cannot do any other action other than Rally, in which case you can stand back up. After standing back up, you are then allowed to do 1 more action, as your Rally counts as 1 of your 2 actions per turn. You know, I asked you not to throw my personal property.
I didn't. I threw you.
That's my personal property! Items are provided with the board, and they are always themed around the franchise that you're playing with.
Felix Felicis.
Felix Felicis.
Felix Felicis.
Right.
Felix Felicis.
How come I don't drink out of this mug more often? Our last action is interact, and that depends on the scenario that you're playing with, as there are various points that you can interact with in order to aid in your victory.
I think we lost them.
Let's just keep pushing through, okay? I did both of my actions. I moved 2 spaces. I then challenged Sal to a basic challenge. I rolled 2 successes. Sal rolled 6 successes, which means that he won the basic challenge. I then put an exhaustion marker on my character and then moved the gem that I used for the ability over to the cooldown track. Now, after everybody else goes...
what are we doing here? This game is way too complicated. It has like so many pieces. It has like 400 different game modes.
All right, relax. It only has 4 game modes.
You know what? Did you put milk in that?
I'm with this guy. I mean, we spent the whole time setting up the board and trying to find the dice.
I don't know. I feel like that's kind of on me for losing the dice.
Are you dumb?
In a world where there is already so many overly complicated board games, all Funko needed to do was give a simple board game experience with maybe a few rules, maybe only 1 or 2 game modes at most, with maybe only 1 or 2 abilities per character. Now, I do understand that by giving players as many options as possible, they are allowing for a more competitive scene, but I actually just found this picture of every competitive Funkoverse player. Oh, come on, they didn't smile. But here's the thing, this board game is most likely not tailored towards hardcore board game fans. This is most likely tailored towards people like me, Funko fans who see a cool new product from a company that they love, and they just want to casually check it out. That's who Funko should have tailored this game to.
Well, for starters, they could have just simplified the game a little bit.
Now, Drew, are you talking about the gameplay, or are you talking about the rules?
I mean, both. Like, why have the dice roll mechanics be called successes when in a normal game, you just roll a dice, whoever gets the higher number wins? Isn't that what it's like with most games?
Or they could have 1 basic game mode. That's like the default. And then they have the other 4 game modes as like suggested ways to play.
My biggest gripe personally is that the pop figures that are included in these games are like 30% smaller than the average pop figure. And I mean, if you're gonna commit to a game revolving around pop figures, why not just include full-sized figures?
Dude, what the f***?
That's a stupid thing to say.
But overall, Funkoverse is definitely to be desired, and maybe that's why Funko only releases about 10 or 12 of these a year. I don't think that every line that comes out needs to have a Funkoverse game added to it, because that would just be way too overwhelming, and I'm kind of glad that Funko and I finally see eye to eye on something, that they don't need to do a board set with every single franchise that is out there. And I can pretty much say firmly that I don't think that Funkoverse will ever fully take off. I mean, 2 years into its life cycle, and it still hasn't taken off. I know so many people in the community who saw this cool product, played it once, and then haven't touched it since. That cannot be the audience that Funko wanted to attract, and it is just something that Funko should have left behind and not done in the first place.
So I was right to throw this thing away.
Yep, we're gonna do what should have been done a long time ago.
Did you just save the honey mustard?
Do you guys want me to break out Twister next?
Are they playing Twister in there?